All right. Here we go, back again on the other side of the coin.
All right, we are back again on the other side of the coin. The matches just keep coming thick and fast, man. It's too difficult to keep up with all of this, but it is what it is. We've got to do a job. We've got to keep up with it. Before we get into the whole preview things of of this particular show, first of all, Nishal, my man, how you doing? Your Wi-Fi is looking very good.
I'm good, thank you. Hopefully my Wi-Fi does last this time, unlike last time. But I'm very good. Looking forward to covering the game and previewing another really big Champions League tie ahead of what's going to be a massive week for us.
Absolutely, man. We've got Porto, then we've got City, and then obviously, there's still the top four race. That's still massive on us. So, there is no rest at all. Kishan, my man, has things. It's been a while, man. I've missed you.
Yeah, man. It feels like ages since I've last been on. But things are all good. I think the results this week were pretty much perfect. I know some people wanted a draw with Leicester and West Ham, but I think it's best to drag Leicester into it. So I'm really happy with the results. And then we've got a chance to get into the semis for the first time in ages. So bring it on.
Yeah, no, 100%, man. I kind of wanted West Ham to lose, but I get your point because we still have that game against West Ham. So maybe we can do it there. And then, we also have a match against Leicester, which we really should be looking to win because of what they did to us previously. So maybe this works out perfectly for us to leapfrog both of them, perhaps. So watch this space. But yeah, man, there's some big games coming up. Obviously, the Porto game and obviously the City one after this. To the live chat, thank you so much for joining. As usual, you're always supporting, and to all the people that are going to watch down the track as well, thank you so much for all the support. Let's get straight into this. Yeah, Nishal, let's get straight into this. I've been thinking about this game over the last probably 24 to 48 hours, and I was just thinking that, we've got the 2 away goal lead, and it all sounds all rosy, and, a lot of people have been touting that we've got a leg into the semi-finals already, but I don't know. For the past, probably, as I said, in the last 24 to 48 hours, I've just been thinking that Porto really don't have much to lose here, Nisha. They could literally just come here and throw the kitchen sink at us. Like, they're going to get back Sergio Sergio Oliveira, and they're going to get Mehdi Taremi back as well. We're going to look at their recent game, which they won, and Taremi scored in the Portuguese league. And these are 2 really big players for them, Kishan, that are going to be back. So are you somewhat weary that we shouldn't just take this lightly? Because, as I said, they're going to just think that, it's do or die. We're losing it anywhere right now. We might as well just go out there and give it all.
Sorry, was that for me or Nisha?
Nishal.
You said both of our names.
Yeah, you said both of our names.
I was a bit confused.
Nishal, sorry, man. I'm going to have this confusion all throughout this stream. But yeah,
he's getting my patels mixed up, that's why. But it's another big game, and it's one we're all really looking forward to. And like Kishan said, it's a huge chance to be in a Champions League semi-final even for the first time in 7 years. But we have to be wary of Porto. I was really surprised to see so many people being so confident and so certain that we're already going to play Real Madrid in the semi-finals when they've not even reached it, and neither have we. And it just seems bizarre, especially when we know what football can throw up. We know what second legs can happen. Even Porto, look at them, they wouldn't have thought they were through in the first leg, and they needed extra time or over 2 legs to get into the quarterfinals. So it's something we shouldn't be taking lightly. The challenge of the 2 key players from Sergio Oliveira and Taremi is going to be big. They're going to be dangerous players, and it's going to have even more threat for Porto. And what we saw from the start of the game in particular, the opening half hour, where while we were really sluggish, they were excellent. And truth be told, I don't think Porto deserved to lose by 2-0. We deserved to win by that scoreline, but Porto weren't that bad. They played well. They really challenged us and put us to the sword, had a lot of good chances. So if they can do that, home tie side and a neutral venue, if they can do that without their 2 key players, their 2 key talismen on either side, think of what they're going to do, where they know they have to chase a 2-goal lead, where they're going to have their 2 best players back. Maybe they have nothing to play for, maybe they don't, but they're going to give it their all to get into the semi-final and pull this back.
100%, man. Kishan, I know you're one of those fans that really wanted Porto. You've been saying it in my channel as well. Since the time we did the draw, live draw reaction, you were so ecstatic as soon as we got Porto. And look, I'm not going to lie to you. I think majority of the fan base would have wanted Porto anyway. And as much as I sort of thought that maybe Dortmund would have been an okay, shout for us, but I was ecstatic as well that we got Porto. But Kishan, you saw Porto the first 25 to 30 minutes. These guys are no mugs, man. They had us. They really had us. And I tweeted there was no midfield existence. We looked a bit dodgy in the back as well. Luckily enough, we persevered and we saw that wave through and we got back into the game. But, Kishan, can you take these guys lightly? Do you think, we got this, man. This is over. Do you think that these guys are really going to come hard at us in the second leg?
Yeah, they should come hard, but I think we've got... I can't see us conceding against them, to be honest. But the one thing I would say is that I agree with Nishal that it will be tough and they didn't deserve to lose by 2 goals. But I think that's the reason that I wanted them so badly, because I don't think we played well at all in that game, but we still came out with a 2-0 win away from home. So I don't think we could have done that against any other team. Against any other team, we would have had to be at our absolute best to get through. Whereas against Porto, I'd probably say we were probably at about 70%. If that, I don't think we were that good at all. And I think even with like Chilwell's goal, it was poor control from Corona that got us in. And then for the first one, there's a bit of like tremendous stuff from Mason Mount. But apart from that, we didn't really show too much, and we're lucky to be 2-0 up. But I can't see us chucking this away from where we are now.
That's a very interesting point. Nishal, would you agree what Kishan said in the sense that, Porto came at us hard, but at the same time, we probably have a few gears to go up as well. So, I mean, we saw that against Crystal Palace, that first 45 minutes. My God, that was frightening. I've not seen a 45 minutes like that in a long time from Chelsea Football Club. So do you kind of feel that we shouldn't be we shouldn't take them lightly, but at the same time, the team shouldn't feel that we need to be scared because we've got a lot of levels to go up as well? You're on mute.
Sorry, rookie mistake. What we saw against Porto was 2nd or 3rd gear. What we saw against Palace, that was 4th, 5th gear. That was a real improvement, showing us at our best. About 45 minutes and that whole 90 minutes against Crystal Palace, arguably one of our best of the season in terms of how we performed. And that was showing us at our best quality and at our very best. Against Porto, I do agree, we weren't outstanding. And I do find myself saying that every now and then, but a really good quality of a good team is that you don't always have to play well to win games. Look at title winning seasons, for example. How often do you see the champions winning 1-0 all the time? Yes, maybe it's boring or maybe it's not the best performance, but it's getting the results. And the fact we have the ability to do that against Porto, against Sheffield United, against Liverpool, or any of these teams we've beaten, to have the ability to do that and not perform at our very, very best, but still come away with what's a comfortable lead, that's a really valuable trait and characteristic of Thomas Tuchel's Chelsea. So absolutely we can improve. If we can carry on where we picked up from Crystal Palace, that would be perfect. But we do need to step up a bit in terms of Porto. It's not to say we didn't have a good performance in the first leg, but like we've all agreed, we can improve. We can be even better. We could have scored more goals. We could have been much more comfortable in the open half hour, which I think for me, that's the key. Because if we start the same in the first half hour on Tuesday, we will concede. There's no doubt about it. If we start so sluggish, so out of control, so complacent, Porto will score and then we'll be in for a tough task. So we need to start strong above all. And like we did against Palace, 2 goals in the open in 10 minutes, 3 goals in the open 30 minutes. Start strong, get our foot in the game. And if we can get a goal in the first half, we really will have a tie in the clasp of our hands.
No, 100%, man. I was just going to say, it's our home leg. We should feel very, very comfortable. And then I realized it's in Seville. It's in the same stadium, just like the away leg, so it doesn't really matter. Kishan, if you were Thomas Tuchel, right? If you were Thomas Tuchel, how do you approach this match knowing the opposition is going to come real hard at us? How do you set this up? Do you do what you did against Atletico Madrid that you allow them to come at us and then try and get them quick and get that. I think we got that 1-0 lead at halftime, and then obviously we blew them off in the second half. Is that the same sort of strategy you play here, knowing that you're ahead, or do you go, you know what, I don't want to just invite pressure on me, I might try and get at them as well? How do you play this?
I'm glad I'm not him, because I don't know, they both sound kind of right. We are the better team. We have the better players. So I get like we should be doing the second approach compared to the game with Atleti. They actually have really, really good players. So I think it's slightly different. But I think I would also go for the first approach where you're a bit more cautious. At wing back, you have like a Reece over Callum, that kind of thing. And then you try and spring on them on the counter. And I think they will leave quite a bit of space in this game. They have to go for it. They've got nothing to lose. And I think we can capitalize on that.
Yeah, that's so well said, because I feel like they really, I'm pretty sure Sergio Conceição would probably say to them that we need these 2 goals to get back into the game. So there's no point in, let's try and suss them out. Let's try and see what Chelsea is going to be doing. We got to be up there throwing men out there. Porto is going to throw, as I said, the kitchen sink out there. So the question to you now as well, Nishal, is that do you feel, are you going to do exactly what Kishan said, that maybe just sort of suss them out, let them come at us, and then we can pick them out, be a bit cautious, have that Reece James, maybe a Chilwell on the left, Reece James on the right, have that balance, and then try and really sneak up on them? Is that what you would do, or would you try and, you know what, you're going to come 100 miles an hour, we're going to go 100 miles an hour at you as well?
I would go for it. There's no point trying to sit back, defend a 2-goal lead, because whether we do that in Champions League or the FA Cup, it's a dangerous game to play, especially in a circumstance where Porto need to win. Like we said, we need 2 goals to be back into the tie. We can't just sit back and hope to push them off, because the thing is, as soon as Porto get a goal, if they do, the tie changes completely. It goes from Chelsea being in complete control, having a 2-goal lead halfway to the Champions League semi-final, to Porto being within a goal of 11 it up, and we're back to square one. So we've got to go for it straight away. Get that goal, that early goal, but also have that, be apprehensive and be solid at the back. But that's just basic football, having that defensive performance with a back 3, staying compact, reducing these opportunities, of which we did in the second half, and also here having that midfield performance. I think it'll be a really interesting decision to see who starts in midfield. I've got my opinions on it, which I know we'll touch on. But
we're going to talk about this.
Of course. But every single player, from the 3 defenders to the wing backs to the central midfielders, their role is so much more important, because they're going to be defending even more, because they know they'll be on the back foot on times. They know that they'll need to stay tight. And on the other hand, we've got to get another goal. There's no point trying to go 90 minutes, keeping a clean sheet, getting a 0-0. We have to go for it. The earlier we get that first goal on Tuesday, the quicker we're in control of a tie, and the quicker we can almost kill the tie off. Because if we're stuck in a 2-1 game, for example, on aggregate in the 89th minute, that's increased pressure. If we're on a 3-0 aggregate score after 2 minutes, so much different. It's a whole different story. So we need to approach it as if we need to win, like we did with a second against Atletico Madrid. As Tuchel said, go for it. Get the win, see the job out.
Yeah, man, you're right. I've never been an advocate of. We all saw what happened to Man United and Spurs yesterday. I think Spurs, they had the lead. I didn't get to watch the match. I just saw the the final score, but I've been reading up on it. I think Spurs were leading at halftime, and then Jose Mourinho went back to his classic, I've got the lead, you come and get me, and I'll try and sneak you. And what happens? Man United end up getting 3 goals. So, I do like the idea that we've got the quality, as you said, Nishal, as long as you keep it basic, the basics intact, that when you're with possession, you try and get that goal. And when you're in defense, you try and collapse back and try and be compact as possible, just like how we've been doing. Anyway, Kishan, this is a very important game for us, man. I don't even remember when was the last time we went beyond quarterfinals. Was it the Conte year? Was it the Conte? 2014. Wow, man. So this is a huge moment for some of the youngsters in our team. You know, the likes of Mason Mount, you know, Reece James, even Tammy Abraham. He hasn't been seeing any minutes, but I'm sure he'll probably be in the squad. It's big for him. I'm just trying to think who else probably hasn't seen that level yet. I don't think Rudiger has gone into a semi-finals yet with us. I'm pretty sure Rudiger hasn't gone to it.
With Roma,
I think.
Oh, with Roma. With Roma,
yeah.
he has.
Most of the players were actually. Christian Pulisic, Havertz, none of them would have,
Yeah. So, Kishan, this is huge, yeah? Like, it's going to be a big milestone for our team.
Yeah, for sure. And just another thing on the previous point, we had RJ put a good comment saying it's about the balance. And it's true, because I don't think against Atleti we invited too much pressure. We always defend with the ball. So it always looked like we were in control. It was just that our goal, the first goal, was on the counter. But I think that's just clever football. So I don't think it's about that we'll invite pressure. We should still dictate the game. It's just about whether we fully go out for the first goal, like Nishal said. Sorry, Ms. Can I have that proper question?
I was saying, how big is it for our current players to make it into the semi-finals? Because it'll be a massive milestone for some of these guys. And also, it would mean, you know, they get to feel a different level of experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And in terms of overall confidence, it's massive as well, because you play against Porto. If you get into the semi-finals of the Champions League, then on Saturday you go into the semi-finals of the FA Cup. You've got a chance to get into a final against possibly Leicester or Southampton. Yeah. That's another thing for confidence. And then you've possibly got a shot of a trophy. And it's just overall confidence. With these players, it's almost weird to call Mason Mount and Reece James young players now. It seems like they have so much experience over the past sort of year or so. So it's crazy. But I do think we do need something like this where we get through to the semis, and then we've got a good shot in the semis. When you look at the two teams that we could get, we're on the good side of the draw. If we could make a final of the Champions League, that's a great stepping stone, even if we want to win it.
Yeah, man, so well said. Nishal, I want to ask you the same thing as well. Like we've said, you know, when Frank took over this team last season, we still have quite a bit of the core of that team still within this particular Thomas Tuchel's, tenure, the early sort of moments. We've always said that, you know, this team, if they consistently make it into the finals or they get that trophy, it's going to mean a lot to them, and they're just going to grow that much bigger. Do you know what I mean? In stature. For them as well, Nishal, it's so important to ensure that they go past Porto and get into that Champions League semi-finals. It's just going to mean so much for some of these youngsters, right?
Especially when you compare it to last season where we knocked up by Bayern Munich. You know, I remember that first leg being there, and we were blown away by far the best team in Europe, and they deserved to go through. But it was a really big lesson.
We looked so naive, didn't we? We looked so naive in that game. Yeah.
But there's no embarrassment or there's no regret in admitting that, because we were naive. We had a new manager. We had half our team, you know, from the academy or hadn't been in a European game. Not to mention we hadn't been in the Champions League for 2 years. So we had that, you know, almost inexperience or lack of consistency in the competition. And we were blown away by Bayern Munich. We were completely, you know, we were underwhelming at times. We weren't up to the levels, and you could see we had a long way to go before we could really compete in Europe. And to see the progress within a year from being blown away in the round of 16, barely having a chance after the first leg, to now being on the verge of a semi-final is big testament not only to Thomas Tuchel, who's come in, and the new signings, but also the academy players to use that experience, really grow as players and, you know, as people in that year to get to the stage. We speak about Mason Mount, who's only in his second season in the senior team. Reece James was saying, Callum Hudson-Odoi, for years he's been, you know, unlucky not to get a regular starting spot under Sarri, under Lampard, and now under Tuchel. So yeah, for the young players, it's a really big opportunity to get to this stage of a competition, not just, you know, these circumstances, but this early in their career and this early in their time at Chelsea. So it's a big opportunity for them. But then we can't forget the majority of the squad have been there and done it. Thiago Silva got to the final last year. Christian Pulisic got far with Borussia Dortmund. Antonio Rudiger, of course. Cesar Azpilicueta, of course, is the only player who's in that semi-final squad in 2014. So we do have a nice mix, and that's how it is with Chelsea. A nice mix of experience who've done it in Europe, who've been the distance. We've got a Champions League winning midfielder, Mateo Kovacic. We've got players who have done well in the competition, have the experience, and know how to play these European games. And then we've got the youngsters who are still learning their trade on the European stage, doing brilliantly, and on the verge of, really achieving a great feat for Chelsea in this situation, considering the pandemic, considering the managerial change, considering the youngsters. It's a big, big opportunity for the academy products.
100% right, man. It's just going to mean so much for these players to move on to the next stage, semi-finals or the Champions League. I forgot about Kalaman Zamadoy, man. It's going to mean so much to him as well to experience this level of football. Shout out to RJ, man. Honestly, some top comments coming up from RJ. I think we'll find out a lot about our side within the first 15 to 20 minutes, if we successfully settle into the game and manage the expected onslaught. It will reveal a lot about our character, 100% right. I mean, one thing is for certain, Porto ain't going to sit back here. They're not going to park the bus. They're going to come at us. So we better be ready. Let's now talk about this. I think this is very important. Kishan, I'll go to you first. As I said, the first 20 to 25 minutes, probably about 30 minutes, we struggled with their press, the way they control with the ball. They completely ate our midfield. They attacked from the flanks as well. They're pretty much going to do this. The first topic that I want to talk about in this is who's going to be part of your midfield. Are you going to go with someone like Jorginho and Kovacic again because they look very good against Crystal Palace? And the control they had, the way they counter-pressed, they absolutely devastated Crystal Palace, suffocated them. Now we can go on and say that, Porto is definitely a lot more levels above Crystal Palace, but we should never, ever disregard any team in the Premier League because we saw what West Brom did to us a few days ago. And Crystal Palace beat West Brom just a week before that. So it's crazy in the Premier League, right? So the first point that I want to ask you, who's going to be in your midfield?
Honestly, I actually don't mind this at all. I think this is the first sort of match we've had where I don't have a proper view on who should be in. Like even on the top of the pitch, I'm not sure whether you'd keep like a Pulisic in or swap with Werner. But I think in terms of midfield, the one staple I'd have is I would put Kante in if I was picking. I wouldn't be completely against Kova and George, especially after the last performance that they had.
Yeah.
But I think in this kind of game, it just reminds me of the second leg against Atleti. And I think Kante, Kova would be the two that I'd go for.
Yeah, look, man, I'm sort of thinking about moving that way. But the only concern, and I want to ask this to Nishal, is that Kante has only featured off the bench so far. He missed out on the first game against West Brom, and obviously we got thumped that game. And it felt like Tuchel was looking to get this guy back. We need him at least in the bench because you could sense some sort of panic that not having him at least in the bench is causing a bit of panic station for the team. And then obviously against Porto, he came on in the second half, right at the end. Looked okay-ish, not the greatest. And then against Crystal Palace, again, got some games, looked once again okay-ish. Do you feel like Kante, and I don't know, but we've seen this many a times that when Kante has got a little injury or whatever the injury is, he slowly comes back into it. Do you feel this is the game where, Thomas Tuchel just goes, yeah, you're going to start? Or does he stick with Jorginho and Kovacic?
N'Golo Kante has to start. There's no debate about that. And I think seeing him being rested in on the bench, I don't believe that was a way of saying he's out of the squad or he's injured. I just believe it was kind of using him sparingly because we have to admit and be honest, we're past the days where we can be playing N'Golo Kante week in, week out. He's not at that full fitness, at this current stage at least, having come back from a hamstring injury. And it's a really risky decision to be playing him week in, week out. So we have to use him sparingly. And it was very telling that he came on after 60 minutes. It was Jorginho who came off, maybe being rested. Maybe it's a Jorginho Kante midfield that Thomas Tuchel has in mind. Or maybe it's a Kovacic Kante midfield he's got in mind. We're not sure. And realistically, he could play any three of them. I do think Jorginho Kante would be too defensive for my liking for that game. It's a good midfield. It can work well together. It does allow N'Golo Kante a license to roam free, but this is the sort of game where we need Kante to more be covering and be more of a defensive midfielder almost, rather than making those bombing runs down. Yes, he can, but in this sort of game, do we really want to play two deep, very defensive double sixes, or do we want to go for a bit more balance and have Mateo Kovacic in? So for me, I'm also going for N'Golo Kante and Mateo Kovacic. I think that's the most experienced midfield. It's the best midfield anchor we can have for a European game. High stakes, experience, players who've been there, done that. It draws parallels back to Mateo Kovacic last season against Bayern Munich, where he was the only player who actually played well in both legs because he played at that level before. So really, any three of them could play, and I wouldn't mind too much. But whatever midfield combination is, whether it's Kovacic-Conte, Jorginho Kovacic, or Jorginho Conte, N'Golo Kante has to be there. There is no debate about that. He has to be starting against Porto. He has to be starting against Manchester City because he's the glue that keeps our midfield together, protects us, and really keeps us in shape for these sort of games. So he has to be on the team sheet. No doubt about that for me.
Yeah, this seems like a same sort of blueprint from that Atletico game where I feel like Kante will be much needed in the sense of winning balls. So, opposition will have the ball. They're going to try and get at us. And it's about destroying the play and winning the ball back from them. I don't think it's a game where you play Jorginho and Kovacic, which kind of means to me that we're going to hold the position more. We're going to be in control, which I don't think we can be in this game because the opposition won't allow for that. Because the opposition, they're just going to come at us, right? So, that's something to think about. I just want to read this out. I want to get Kishan's thought on this. I think Thomas Tuchel will go with a three-man midfield with N'Golo Kante, Jorginho, and Kovacic. When we make the substitutions at the end of the game, we control the game better. I don't know if he tinkers with the formation and will have these three playing all at once. What do you think, Kishan?
I don't think there's any chance of that, really. I think possibly after a few minutes in the second half, if he feels that we need an extra body in there, then he might take a wing back off and stick on the one player that he left on the bench. But I can't see him changing the three at the back. Definitely not.
Yeah, me neither, man. Me neither. I'll start with you this time, Kishan, again. Let's now talk. So we talked about the midfield. Let's now talk about the front three. A lot of talk has been about the front three. Who's going to be, what's going to happen there. I think the back three is more or less sorted. We know who are going to be there, and the wing backs more or less sorted. But the front three, obviously the Crystal Palace match, we saw Kai Havertz, Pulisic, and Mason Mount. And off the back of that, the review, we talked about that possibly being one of the best front three that Thomas Tuchel could have. And then yesterday, I had a really good conversation with RJ where we kind of talked about every possibility of the different combinations. And we came up with a solution that the combination of Kai Havertz, Pulisic, and Mason Mount gives the best sort of package for Thomas Tuchel. But in this match, we also said in that show yesterday with RJ that it's horses for courses. Predominantly, that front three will work, but there could be certain times where we need to mix things up, Kishan. So what would be your best combination, knowing the circumstance of this match and knowing that Porto is going to come at us? What would be the best combination of the front three for you?
I think it's going to be hard to look past the same three that you were talking about, the three that started against Crystal Palace. As they were phenomenal. That's not only probably the best game I've seen from Chelsea, but the best game I've seen from a single team in quite a long time. So I think it's hard to look past them. But like we said, if Porto are going to come onto us and leave space in behind, you can just see flashbacks of Werner running down that left and picking out. I was going
to say, Timo Werner comes into play, right?
He absolutely does, yeah. So I would actually start him. The thing is, I'm quite tired of seeing him in like the front positions when he's trying to finish and stuff. But it's just that I know he'll have some sort of effect on the game, that he might look clumsy and all of that kind of stuff. But I know he'll put in something that might win us the game.
The situation is tailor-made for him.
It is. So yeah, I would actually have him on the left, and I think you can't look past Mason Mount. He's the one staple all the time, and then I've not watched too much of Sergio Oliveira, but apparently he's got bags of energy. So you need Mount, and this is another reason to have Kante in actually. So yeah, I'd go Werner, Mount, and up top. I think you just have to leave it with Kai. To be honest, it's not. It don't really seem like a game for Giroud where we will have enough of the ball, but I don't see us sticking the ball in the box enough and all that kind of thing. So I'd leave Giroud out. You want someone mobile, someone who can literally come really deep. So I'd stick with Kai Havertz.
That's a good point, sticking with Kai Havertz. But here's another scenario, and I want to go to Nishal on this. Timo Werner, Pulisic, Mason Mount. Thoughts?
Well, Werner up top or?
Werner up top. And Pulisic inside forward and Mason Mount.
I don't want to see Werner in the lineup. I like him and I don't have any agenda or any feeling towards any players. I'm not that sort of fan. But Timo Werner hasn't been playing well enough to justify a place in the team. Nor does he justify a place in the team or his performances. They don't justify replacing any of the front three that started against Crystal Palace. And my main argument for keeping it the same is, if it's not broken, don't fix it. And I've said it so many times under Tuchel. And it's true. You know, why would you be coming off the game where you've scored the most goals under Tuchel, had probably your best performance under Tuchel, and looked most in control and most fluid in attack? Why would you change that? Why would you bring in a player who's been performing so subpar, who's not been doing well enough, who has 1 goal in his last 22 league appearances? Why would you bring him back in for a game where we need to score and we need to control the game? Timo Werner doesn't get anywhere near my starting lineup, and that's nothing personal against him. That's being honest. That's been really cynical. We need to.
And I guess Werner and Pulisic
player.
are similaristic kind of players anyway. So
to an extent, I don't know. Yeah. I wouldn't say so. I think Pulisic is more talented on the ball and dribbling and going forward. Werner's got that pace, and he's a natural striker. So they do have their differences there, but they're not so similar in that sense. But we need to keep the same back three. Kai Havertz, superb up top. I said earlier in the week, the only change I would consider would actually be Olivier Giroud. Unlike you guys said, I think having a striker like him in that game would be really helpful, but I wouldn't do that. I'd bring him off the bench, 60, 70 minutes, give us that extra experience and that extra presence in the box later on in the game. But I see no reason to change from Pulisic, Havertz, Mount. They were fantastic, brilliant attacking performance. And in a season where we've lacked cutting edge, we haven't been consistent up top, and we don't know our strongest front three, let alone our strongest team, to have a front three like that, where the average age is 21 and a half, I believe, why would you change that? Why would you try and disrupt that anyway? What if Werner starts tomorrow and scores? Then good for him. I'm not gonna. If he scores, brilliant. I'm fine with that. I'm not gonna be like, oh, I regret it so much. I was lying. No, if he scores, brilliant. That's great for the team. That's great for Werner. But this is me speaking on an honest perspective right now, being as as direct and as honest as I can be in our team selection. Werner doesn't deserve to start. He can start and get a hat-trick, and I'll be like, fair play, he played well. I didn't think he should have started, but he did, and credit to him. But if we're looking at the situations right now, taking everything into account, Werner doesn't, be honest, watching the Crystal Palace performance, would Werner have done better than Havertz up top? No. Would he have done better than Pulisic on the left? No. Would he have done better than Mount on the right? No. We just have to be honest. We have enough options to be able to do this. We're not going.
It's 3 strikes and out.
It's exactly. And we have to be honest as well, where we're in a situation where we have a brilliant squad depth, right? It's not that we have limited enough players, but we're in a situation where, we have to start Werner because we haven't got any other players. No, we've got plenty of attackers and plenty of options. So he doesn't get into my team, and we have the perfect front three in front of us that need to start on Tuesday.
Yeah, look, man, I would find it very, very difficult to separate that front three after what they did. And let's be honest, it's not like Kai Havertz is slow. I was more thinking about the pace. If they've got the high line, we can use the pace of Pulisic and Timo Werner and really, cause a lot of havoc. But it's not like Kai Havertz is slow. In fact, I probably think Kai Havertz is probably just as quick as Timo Werner. Just doesn't look like that. But when Kai goes on his stride, he's very, very quick. So I definitely wouldn't change that. There's few people that wanted to know if Timo Werner would start this. Well, there's your answer, guys. I think Nishal summed it up so nicely. Does he do better than Pulisic on the left? Probably not. Does he do better than Kai Havertz on the as a striker? Probably not. Does he do better than Mount on the right? Definitely not. But Kishan, I want to go to you now. I saw something in social media which kind of I felt a bit sad, right? I felt a bit sad looking at that. And it was about a quote from Timo Werner saying that I'm still getting abused with that miss from against North Macedonia for Germany. I could have won that game. We were 1-1. We could have scored, and I could have put my country up front. And he was saying that I might have just took my eyes off it. I shouldn't have done it. I should have watched the ball all the way through, and I missed it. And then he was also saying, I do understand I'm not scoring enough for Chelsea. But then he goes on to say that, look, I feel like I've contributed enough as well. Like I've got into assists and got a lot of penalties. And he was just saying that, it's like he's in a sad state. Like he's feeling the pressure that the fans are on him. By the way, did you see that on social media?
Yeah. So
how do you feel when you saw that, bro?
It's not a good thing to hear, obviously. You want him to feel comfortable because in that mindset, that's the time when he'll feel the confidence on the pitch and maybe he'll stop missing sitters. But the point that Nisha had is right. Like I said, I'm tired of seeing him in the lineup as well. One of the reasons I think I put him in is because I've kind of got one eye on the Saturday game against Man City, and I want Pulisic to start in that game. But like Nishal said, we've still got so many other players. And even tomorrow, possibly, like I said, I'd have Reece at right wing back. And in my head, I have Cho set as a right wing back, but he could easily play on the left wing instead of Werner if we want to do that kind of thing. So I think his sloppiness, it's all right talking about it, and it's not great that he gets abused. We did a whole episode on abuse. Yeah. It's not nice, the kind of things people are saying to him. But I think from within himself, some of the things he's missed, and I just can't believe some of them.
Some monumental misses, man. Some big misses.
It's like, and I know he's talking about his contribution, which it has actually been quite good, winning us penalties, getting us assists in big games. But the reason we're linked with other strikers like Haaland, Lukaku, is because he's not done his job properly. He has 5 league goals, and like Jorginho has more from penalties. Zuma hasn't played that much this season. He's got 5
Tammy
headers.
Has 6 when he hasn't even played.
Tammy has 6 when he hasn't played. He's not on penalties. You can't really justify it, to be honest. And then I think when we signed him, we thought, this guy's a proper striker. We've made another position for him as a left forward. We've tried to be as accommodating as we can. The thing with him is when he broke his duck against Newcastle, I don't feel like I ever had confidence that he'd go on a run. Even if he scores tomorrow or after that, I always feel like he's going to have 5 or 6 games where he's not going to score after it. I don't think his confidence is on that level where one goal changes too much for him right now.
Yeah, Nishar, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, my point's not, I've spoken about Werner and I've given my opinion on it, but it's more about the abuse. And it's horrible that he or anyone is facing abuse, and I understand why he feels that way or why it's been hard. And the point I just want to make is that there's a very fine line between criticism and abuse, and that goes for footballers, that goes for journalists, that goes for content creators. And the problem we're seeing in social media, whether it's with racism or general abuse, is that people don't know where the line is between, constructive criticism or just general criticism. For example, for me, I will be critical. I will look at it objectively and say if a player is playing well or badly, but then there's a line I'm not going to cross towards abuse. And that should go for everyone. So when we see, players getting abused or players getting racial slurs on their social media platforms for missing or playing a game of football, it's not on. So it's a shame for Werner. I do sympathise and empathise with him for facing abuse and for anyone. So I think it's really important to understand and that people know that, you're allowed to have an opinion, you're allowed to be objective, you're allowed to be critical of someone or something, but know where the line is between abuse and criticism. Because if we lose that, then it loses kind of the discussion about football and the discussion we have kind of in society as well.
Yeah, no, 100% agreed, man. This is where sometimes it gets a bit messy, where you critically look at a particular player's performance, and then certain people will drag that into abuse and then racism and all that. And as you said, Nishal, there needs to be a limit. I'll go with you, Nishal, on this one. The 2 points that I want to talk about when I was just talking to Kishan about this just came up in my mind. When looking at this team, and obviously we're going to do the team selection very soon, do you have one eye on the City game as well? Or do you feel like, we've got enough time until the City game? we should look at this game for as it is, and it's a very important game as well. Not as well, it's a massive game, and we should be looking at playing our best players that fit for this particular match. Or do you sort of say, there's that City FA Cup game coming up, maybe I need to sort of tinker a little bit? How do you sort of look into this?
If we're already looking at a Man City game right now, we're going to lose against Porto because we'll be distracted and we won't be focused on the task in hand. I think it's important to kind of understand both games. You know, we've got a huge week ahead of us. We're on the verge of a Champions League semi-final and an FA Cup final. There's no secret to that. We know that, and the players will know that. But we need to focus on the task in hand and the game upcoming. We have a big enough squad. We have a talented enough squad to be able to play on a Tuesday and a Saturday. It most likely won't be the exact same team, and that's good because we have enough players to be able to do that. We have enough players to play, Pulisic, Havertz, Mount on Tuesday, and then, I don't know, Hudson-Odoi, Giroud, Ziyech on Saturday, and they're both still good lineups. So we're able to do that. We have the capabilities to do that. So I do have maybe half an eye or quarter of an eye on the City game. That's always going to be in the back of my mind. It's a huge game. And of course, the FA Cup, I love it. It's a huge competition and a huge chance for us to win our 9th trophy. But we can't be thinking too far into the future. It's the same way if we're saying, how are we going to get the top 4 race? Or how are we going to win the Champions League next season? Well, that's not the task on hand, is it? We've got a Champions League quarter-final literally in about 24, 36 hours that we've got to focus on. So stay focused on the task in hand. Let's focus on what we can do for that game, what the best way to win it is, who do we play. And then as soon as the full-time whistle goes, then the attention goes to Man City. And then we reevaluate, we see what situation are we in, who's suspended, who's injured, who do we need to change, rotate, rest, what do we need to do? But we need to take the rest of the season one step at a time if we want to achieve our goals.
Yeah, for sure, man. I feel like we have a very deep squad as well to compete in all fronts. So, we try and play our best here, and then if certain players need a bit of rest against City, well, so be it. We've got Callum Hudson-Odoi, we've got Ziyech, we've got Timo Werner, the kind of players that are not seeing that many minutes at the moment. We've got in midfield the likes of Kante, Jorginho, and Kovacic to select on. So plenty of, and in defense as well. Thiago Silva, hopefully Christensen will be back. Kishan, one more thing before we start talking about designing our lineup. Hakim Ziyech news just came up in the last 24 hours, floating around, and I don't know if a lot of it's true, but you know how I feel about Hakim Ziyech, so it bothers me. You know what I mean? He's not seeing minutes again. Obviously, as we've said before the international break, he was in an upward trajectory. Goals against Atletico Madrid, goals against Sheffield United. Comes back. We were all hoping that he was going to be one of the X factors against West Brom, and then the whole red card, and he got substituted, and since then not really seen much minutes. It was more sort of cameos from the bench. Missed out on an assist against Crystal Palace. How he put Kai Havertz through. Kai Havertz should have finished that, man. Honestly, Ziyech should have got himself an assist. But do you buy into any of these conversations that he may look to leave if this continues?
I personally do. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, I personally do buy into it because I'm not sure about the specifics of it, like if he's actually ready to move, etc. But I think if it continues like this, I don't see a reason why he wouldn't, because it's just, I don't know, there's too many people ahead of him in the pecking order, it seems like.
Yeah.
And he's too specific in terms of where he's playing right now. It's only going to be in that right side behind the striker.
And Mount's locked that role up massively.
Mount's locked that up. And even if he doesn't, you got to stick in Mount somewhere. Ziyech is not that same level of importance to us because he has been a bit unlucky with injuries and that kind of thing. But you can't play him wing back, whereas Callum, you can play wing back. You can maybe use him on the right, left. So they've got more versatility to their game than Ziyech has. I'm not actually that bothered, to be honest. I know this will hurt you. This will hurt you. But I honestly wouldn't mind if we were looking at another winger type of player, someone who could sort of play as a wing back and come in either side of the wing. I wouldn't actually mind shifting him on, if I'm being honest.
Bro, that hurts, bro. Nah, I can't bring you back in my channel again, man. Until you start patting me up.
No, but I'm not saying that's that for him. I still want him to do well, and if he does do well and gets minutes, plays well, then that's fine. I don't mind. But it's just at this current stage, if we were looking at another winger and one had to go, for sure he would be the one that I would get rid of.
Now, look, sentiments aside, I completely understand what you're saying. Nishal, if it continues to be 3 at the back the way it is, and it continues like that next season, you'd probably have to agree that he is much lower in the pecking order because as Kishan said, he only has the one spot, which is that Mason Mount spot, that inside right wing, right forward position. He can't really play on the left that much. He can't play as a wing back. He can't play as a false 9. Right now, Mason Mount has locked that role up like he's not going to let go of it ever. If the formation doesn't change, because if it does change back to, say, 4-3-3, maybe, Kai Havertz has more of a chance to... Ziyech has more of a chance to come back into the team. But do you buy into any of these sort of talks that perhaps he'll look to move on if this is how it is?
No, and I don't read into his rumours or any of his transfers because you see it all the time, and this is nothing towards you. This is a general thing from a fan base and fans. People will believe everything they see. So I'm not focusing on reports. I'm not listening to them. I'm not reading them. Let's look at Ziyech from a footballing perspective only. None of his reports, none of what's been going on in the media. Ziyech for Chelsea. The thing is, right now, like you said, it's difficult because he can only play that one position on the right-hand side. And right now, you've got Mason Mount who can play there. You've got Pulisic who can move over there, albeit not as effectively. Callum Hudson-Odoi can play there. We have a lot of options there. So he's got lots of competition for that one position. And especially when you contrast to Timo Werner, he's got 2 positions. Callum Hudson-Odoi, he's probably got about 3. Mason Mount, he's probably got about 3 as well. The attacking forward and even in the midfield pivot. The Ziyech is only in about 1 position. But I'm not worried for 2 reasons. One, it's his first season. He's been struggling with injury. He's been in a situation, and I'm not reading into his reports. Number 2, we're not going to be playing a back 3 forever. We've known this from the very start. Tuchel is a very adaptable manager. He uses different formations. He's known for changing and being very versatile. Look at the Barnsley game, for example. He's 3 different formations in one game. Yes, it's a very radical formation change going into a back 3, but we're not going to see this for his whole tenure. I can see us going next season into a 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3 or whatever he sees is feasible, because we know as well in football and in English football, you can't just stick with one formation and one tactics for the whole 5 years, because you will be sussed out and you will be exposed. A great example on a more international scale is Spain with tiki-taka. Yes, it was brilliant. Yes, it resulted in Spain's golden generation. But by 2013-14, when teams had figured out how to combat it, they weren't doing well anymore and their tactic had been exposed. It's the same way for the back 3. And Tuchel has that ability and he has that option to be able to change the formation. So this won't be a long-term thing, seeing a back 3. Ziyech has got nothing to worry about. We don't have anything to worry about. Let's just focus on him ending the season well. He's going to do well. He's been doing well throughout the season when he's had the chance and when he's been fully fit. And let's just hope that he ends the season well.
100%, man. I like that. See, Kishan, learn from Nishal, bro. That's what you say about, Ziyech. But yeah, Kishan, he has something to say.
I think one more thing is with him is, how he has that fixed right position right now. At least he has that even, because like we said, if Tuchel goes to a 4-3-3, I don't know where he'd play him in a 4-3-3. I can't see him using Ziyech as a traditional winger. I think he likes pacey wingers. Ziyech is a different type. He's sort of a attacking midfielder that plays on the right side. Yeah. I can't really see Tuchel using him on the wing, and you can't really use him. I can't see him as an 8. I think possibly a 10, but then you've got Havertz and that kind of thing. So it is quite an interesting thing to see where he is just locked into one position. So we'll see how we make use of him.
It's a good point that you brought up. The way I look at it, and I think in PSG, the one player that sort of resembles in that manner, but this player probably has a lot more pace, is Angel Di Maria. So yeah, Di Maria used to play in that sort of left, right wing sort of position. He's not the most paciest winger out there. Angel Di Maria is, he is getting on a bit, but he kind of played that similar sort of, cutting back in, more sort of midfieldy area, and then obviously they had the flyers of the fullbacks. So we'd probably expect Ziyech to be on the right side, but then Reece James will probably go back as a fullback so he can start overlapping. So yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, much like what Frank Lampard did. I'm very, very sure that Hakim Ziyech could definitely perform in that manner. But yeah, you're right. It's not like he's absolutely pacey, but then again, I don't think he needs to be super pacey. If he can find those passes, the Cesc Fabregas kind of passes from midfield, and pick out Pulisic or Kai Havertz or whoever is up front, then that's more than enough. And someone like Mason Mount as an attacking eight could drive into the box as well. Guys, let's get straight into the lineup. But before we get into the lineup, we have almost 50 people logged on. Please smash the like button straight away. Take the opportunity right now to hit the like button, and obviously follow my panelists. All of their socials information's in the description right now. Just pretty much click on the link and it will take you there and just basically follow them. So please go out there and do that. Let's get straight into the lineups, guys. Let's actually bring in this format. We'll go from the back, and we'll get everyone's sort of opinion on it, and we'll lock something up. I think this one, let's not even talk about it. I mean, honestly, we're just going to be wasting time. It's just, it is what it is. Yeah, of course, Kepa, man. It's the perfect game for him. Right back, can we all agree it's going to be Azpilicueta?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, first of all, I need to talk about this. What happened to Christensen? Does anyone know? Because I was
hamstring injury.
Really, but how did that happen? Just training?
Friday training. So it would have been, I think it would have been a training session after the press conference, because we went into the press conference. Tuchel said we got a fully fit squad, bar Silva suspended. So I think it would have happened in the afternoon training session before we went to the hotel.
And obviously before the Palace game. So what do we do here now? Because I was thinking about putting Christensen, but then Zuma played very well, and then obviously now Thiago Silva's fit. So let's go with you, Kishan. Who's your man in the middle?
Thiago Silva. It has to be.
I've already seen Nishal nod, but I'm going to get his answer. Nishal, obviously Thiago Silva.
Yeah, it has to be Thiago Silva. We can't go into a Champions League quarter-final without Thiago Silva, the heart of our defence. And look, Christensen, we don't know yet. We'll find out in about half an hour of the time of recording whether Christensen's actually fit. But Silva has to come back into that defence. And these are the sort of games where he's built for and he's perfect for. So he has to be right there in the heart of the defence. And
you know what? Even if Christensen is fit, I'm not sure if he's picked up some sort of injury and he wasn't able to feature against Crystal Palace. I'm not sure if it's going to be wise to just throw him in again. Zuma is probably a bit more of a shout for the time being, just ahead of him in terms of, as I said, the injury. But obviously Silva sits right on top of the tree. So we've locked that up. This one, boys, I'm not even going to ask, because this is one of my men. This is, you know what, I want to spend a bit of time on this one, actually. I'm not sure if you guys just seen, and I want to say this to the live chat as well. Matisse Ma, he has a YouTube channel, probably one of the best YouTube channel in Chelsea football community. He had Pat Navin and I can't remember someone else in the show, but mostly I was just focused on Pat Navin. And the way Pat was talking about the team, because Matisse asked him, do you have any sort of inside information? Who's going to give us a bit of, sneaky sort of preview of the lineup? And Pat said, look, I really don't know, but I can assure you, you want to have a team that starts with Mason Mount and Rudiger, and then you put whoever you want to put around them. And I loved it when he said that, because this player, Rudiger, and I'm guilty of it as well. Like, I gave him a lot of heat during Frank Lampard time. But since Tuchel's taken over, man, he is a badass. He's an absolute hustler. And I need to have him in our team. Without him, and I don't think anyone has played the left centre-back position better than him. We've seen Zuma play there, looks completely out of, sorts. I don't know if we've seen Christensen play there. I can't remember if Christensen played. Yeah, Christensen has. But Rudiger for me looks so safe there. So Kishan, 100% Rudiger?
It's not even a discussion at all. I think like for left centre back as well, he's deceptively quick. I can't remember who it was. It was an interview with one of the Chelsea players, and they actually state Rudiger as one of the fastest at the club as well. So I think with that left centre back position, it really suits him being there.
Nice. Someone's just said the other man on Mars podcast was his father. Man, I had no idea because I just tuned in halfway through. Thank you for that, man. That's brilliant, man. He got his father on. That's amazing. Nishal, obviously Rudiger for you as well, yeah? Straight up.
Yeah, Rudiger's got to be there. And it's always a funny one when you think about it in the long term, where even this season we saw him at his weakest. We saw his vulnerabilities we've seen in recent seasons, but he has been brilliant under Tuchel, and he's got to be there. And we look at our back three. It's a really, really strong defence. You've got the experience and the leadership of Azpilicueta. You've got the European pedigree of Thiago Silva. And then you've got almost a bullish, really strong and physical power of Antonio Rudiger on the left-hand side. And especially when we're thinking about Taremi and Sergio Oliveira coming back in, that's the sort of player we want. And let's not forget how we played against Luis Suarez, against Atletico Madrid, how we've seen him in previous games. So if we go with our back three, we're in a brilliant, brilliant position.
100%, man. The way he pocketed Luis Suarez was amazing. Yep, I agree. Rudy, Silva, Azpilicueta, and Mendy, lock it up. Now, in the wing-back position, you know what? I'm going to keep the right one for a moment. This one, guys, I'll go first up. It has to be Chilwell. I need to carry this guy on because I feel like he's Chelsea's number one left wing-back at the moment. It's not like he's played tons of games that he's tired. I feel like he needs to start this game. Nishal, what's your thoughts?
I would agree with Chilwell. You know, Alonso could start, but when we looked at the other Porto first leg, I said Chilwell there as well because, well, I mean, first of all, we'd come off the back of a West Brom defeat where we saw Alonso's vulnerabilities in defence, but also, you know, someone to be more solid and a better option at wing back. Chilwell is there, and he's played really well recently. I was full of praise of him for the first leg performance. He had a brilliant display, and he deserves his place in the second leg as well.
No, for sure. Kishan, I don't want to throw a spanner though. Did that goal that we considered against Palace, and I'm not saying it's completely Chilwell's fault because we shouldn't have allowed that cross to happen so easily. Rudiger probably could have stayed a little bit tighter as well, helped Chilwell out, and Chilwell looked a bit flat-footed over there. But would you stick with Chilwell here, or you're thinking about Alonso?
Not at all. I think the last few times I've seen Alonso play, he really hasn't done it for me. So I would stick with Chilwell. I hear what you're saying about that, but I do think it was more a centre-back problem because everyone knows with Chilwell, you're not getting the height that you get with Alonso, but it's the defence's job to kind of mask that up, and I don't think they do.
Oh no, Kishan's Wi-Fi. Everyone's Wi-Fi has a bit of a heart attack in this particular channel. But I think Kishan's... Here we go. I think he's back. Kishan, you back?
Yeah, back. Sorry about that. So yeah, I don't think it was the Chilwell's fault there. And against Porto in the first leg, he scored a goal. He was probably unlucky not to score against Crystal Palace as well.
Yeah.
Keep that momentum going. Keep him in.
Yeah, 100% agreed, man. I don't know why Deep State, look, man, you know how much I appreciate you, bro. You comment some big stuff and good stuff. Chilwell was poor against Palace. He better improve. I don't know if he was poor. I tend to think it was actually pretty good. So, yeah, happy for you to comment as to why he was poor. Yeah, and then maybe we can
should we
talk
put
about
that in
that.
comparison quickly?
Yeah.
If we put that into comparison quickly, who had a worse performance, Alonso against West Brom or Chilwell against Crystal Palace?
Oh, bro. Yeah, we move to the next part. In the double pivot, I think we've all agreed that Kante probably it's tailor-made for Kante. Let's lock this one up between who goes here. Is it Kovacic that goes in? He goes. Can we all agree that Kovacic 100% place? We'll start with Kishan.
I would go for him, but honestly, if I saw Jorginho and Kante, if I saw Cover and Kante, if I saw Cover and Georgie, I wouldn't mind. So it's such a tough one, but if I was picking, I would go Kante and Cover.
Yeah, I'd have to. The way I'm looking at it is that I'm not sure if we're going to be holding the ball that much because of what the opposition is going to be doing. They're going to be going at us, and it's not like they're going to be sitting back. I'm thinking Kante, Kova. So for me, Kova is one of them. Nishal, would you agree? Kova is one of the double pivot player that goes in straight away.
I think we're all in agreement on Kovacic Conte, actually, as we spoke about earlier and we explained our reasoning. But like I said, I wouldn't mind any midfield pivot. It's not one where I would see Jorginho and Kovacic and feel doomed, or I'd see Conte missing out and I'd feel disappointed. But this is our best midfield, and that's the best midfield we can use to go and win the game.
Yeah, no, agreed. I think you boys have pretty much said you're keeping with something that's not broke. So I'm just going to put that in first up, and then we have a discussion. Meanwhile, I'll go to Kishan. You did sort of think a little bit about Timo Werner, but overall, what's your front three?
Yeah, like I said, this game overall, it's just a trust Tuchel one for me. I look at the lineup, and anything he puts out, I think, is good enough to beat Porto, really. I do get what Nishal was saying about leaving Werner out, and really, I don't want to see him. But it's just, like I was saying, the one eye with City thing is not on the whole team. It's just on Pulisic for me, just purely because of his fitness. And I don't know about sort of playing 3 games in a week. So that's the one reason I say it with Pulisic. But again, it doesn't mean Werner has to play. It could be Cho or anyone, but we could keep it at Pulisic. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, look, I think we can all agree that at the end of the day, what Tuchel puts out in this match, we're not going to be too disheartened because the guy has got everything right so far. So I'm happy to go with Kai, Pulisic, and Mount. I think Nishal, you were happy to keep that. You were a very strong advocate of that. So we'll lock that in. Let's now talk about that right-sided wing-back, Nishal. Who's going to be your man there?
Either Callum Hudson-Odoi or Reece James could be starting it, but it's got to be Reece James based on our first leg. That's the main base I'm going off. Look at what worked in the first leg. It's not like, we kept clean sheet. We got the win. We got 2 away goals. So there shouldn't be too much we necessarily have to change from there. Of course, if we're going to go to Conte, and it's one of the debates we've had, and keeping in front 3 the same from Crystal Palace is another. But I would keep Reece James a right wing back. He was excellent, really good against, when he came off the bench actually, against Crystal Palace, and I kept him fresh as well, having a game off, yeah. And the fact we have that ability to rotate between these 2 players, keep them fresh, keep Reece fresh for this sort of game. It's a perfect game for him. So yeah, I don't think there's too much debate there, but it's definitely one of the few positions where we can kind of say, it's not as nailed on, and it's also one where we have 2 very strong options rather than one superb nailed on starter versus someone who doesn't really deserve to get in there. But Reece James has to be starting.
Yeah, Sean, the more sensible pick is Reece James because of his probably superior defensive qualities as opposed to Callum Hudson-Odoi's. And this season, he has taken his defensive game to a next level, Reece James. Attacking-wise, it's not like he's a novice. He definitely knows how to attack as well. Probably not as attacking as Callum Hudson-Odoi because obviously Callum, he goes into these areas very well, and then he finds to link up with Mount and Kai Havertz. We spoke about it in our review that when Callum plays, his starting position is here. He's literally up on top, whereas when Reece plays, his starting position is more like here. So that's why we see Reece play a lot more passes backwards or sideways to Kante, whereas when Cho is all the way up here, when the ball reaches to him, he's already in an attacking third. So he's looking to drive into these areas. So that's the biggest sort of difference that I have. But Kishan, you're sticking with RJ or you're going with Callum?
Yeah, I'm sticking with RJ. And when you look at what Pat Nevin said about Mount and Rudiger, I think you could add Reece to that. An absolute bulldozer. And in the first leg against Porto, he was so physical against the winger on that side that they didn't want it. So I just think he's another one in terms of that sort of when you want to be up for a huge game, he will physically be in that mind state.
So true.
Helps us a lot in the massive games, yeah.
Yeah, so true. I reckon you're right. He probably starts becoming one of those mainstays like Rudiger and Mount. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the lineup for Porto's second leg. We've got a 2-0 lead away goals. This is the lineup that we've come up with in the panel. Let us know what your thoughts are. I think this is a very strong team that should see the job done. Before we get into the score prediction and whatnot, I just want to have one question that I want to ask both of you guys. I'll go to Nishal first up. Nishal, Tammy Abraham, over?
No, he's still got a future at Chelsea.
You've always been adamant like that. I like that. You've always been adamant. It's good. Kishan, what's your thoughts?
I have to go the other way, and purely based off what I'm seeing right now with him not being in certain squads even, I think Tuchel doesn't really fancy him. I would still have him at least as a second choice, but I don't think Tuchel sees it that way.
Yeah, I mean, he couldn't even make an appearance when we were, 3-1 up or 4-1 up against Palace, and then obviously before that, he wasn't
even
part
when
of the
he's
squad.
injured. Even when he's injured, Tuchel doesn't necessarily say he's injured. He says, "Oh, for tactical reasons, I haven't got him in." So it all leads to him going for me.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's let's see what happens. Obviously, we have 5 subs in Champions League, so if you're not one of the 5 subs, then I'm not really sure what happens. But yeah, I completely see what Nishal's point, and I've seen it that way as well. That for me, the thing is that I think Tammy wants to be the number 1 striker in Chelsea Football Club, but for me, I don't think he can get that at the time being. But if he can stick around and be a squad player and then possibly work himself up to be a number 1 striker, I'm all up for that. Boys, score prediction. I'll go to you, Kishan. What's your thoughts on this blockbuster second leg?
Before when we got the tie, I always thought 2-0 and you mirror it with another 2-0. So I'm going to go for another 2-0 win here.
Oh my days. We're going to do Porto 4-0 in aggregate. That's from Kishan. Nishal, what's your score prediction?
I'll expand a bit more on this one as well. I was quite direct with Tammy Abraham, but that was clear anyway. I'm going to go for 2-1 Chelsea and 4-1 on aggregate. I think Porto will get a goal. We've been good in defence. We have a good defence, but they are going to go for it. We saw what they did against Juventus. We've seen what they've done in this tournament up until last week against Borussia Dortmund. They're the only team to score against Manchester City. They kept a brilliant defence as well in the group stage. They're not a team to be underestimated. Even with the first leg result, they've still done really well in this competition. There's a reason they're called finalists, and they're not going to go down without fights. They're going to go for it. They want to get into the semi-final. They want to prove themselves again on the European stage. So I can see it maybe going like maybe Chelsea open with a score and Porto equalise, and then Chelsea.
I hope so, bro.
Add another one later on. But it will be an open game. But
if Porto score first, it
will be interesting. It will be interesting to see how it would happen as well. Because if it happened in similar manner that we saw the opening half hour, I wouldn't really be surprised. Let's be honest. And I've said this very openly. If we play that opening half hour again, they're going to take their chance because they know what they can do. They know how they can expose us. So that first half hour, that first half is going to be crucial in dictating the game, deciding what's going to happen. And it is a massive, massive game for us. Understandably, there will be fans with more confidence saying it's just Porto. We're 2-0 up. We're on the verge. But it's not over. We have a long way to go. We have a huge 90 minutes ahead in Seville. And we've got to prove ourselves. So it will be a massive game, one where we can really prove ourselves and, get back into the semi-finals for the first time in 7 years. If you enjoyed what you heard today, you can find all of my work on nishalsblog.com, articles, videos, podcasts. You can follow me on Twitter @nishal_sp. And you can also follow Kishan below and go subscribe to Miz, the other side of the coin. Almost at 4,000 subscribers. Let's get him there very soon. But thank you very much for having me on today.
Brilliant, man. Brilliant. Yeah, guys, as Nishal said, all of that in the description right now. Go and do it. Man, I just want to end the show by saying I also predicted 2-1 because I feel like Porto, they showed enough class in that first leg for me to say that. Look, I'm generally one of those guys who's confident to say, yeah, you know what, we're going to keep a clean sheet. But in this match, I feel like I've seen enough from Porto in that first leg, that first 25, 30 minutes, as you said, for them not to score in this game.
But
go on, Kishan.
Our defense has shown enough class over the last 14, 15 games, bar the West Brom game as well. Don't be a pessimist.
True, bro. True. I guess I'm just a bit scared. But The one thing I can't handle in this particular tie is if it goes all the way to extra time and then penalties. If that happens, oh my God, that review. I don't think I'll have enough energy for that review. But hopefully we do get this done within 90 minutes and we see this off. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being part of the live show. There was almost 50 people at one stage. Please smash that like button. To all the people that are going to watch down the track as well, thank you heaps for all your support. As Nishal said, I'm very close to 4,000 subscribers, so please help me get there. If you're here for the first time, subscribe and hit the bell notifications to stay in touch with all my content. And I probably won't have any stream. I'll have a stream straight after the game tomorrow for the review, so do look out for that. Obviously, Nishal will be back. Hopefully, his Wi-Fi stays as true as it has today. And we'll get Taryn back, and we will have Ryan back again because a lot of you guys enjoyed Ryan's tactical knowledge. So we will have Ryan back again talking about tactics from that game. So that will be very, very interesting. So guys, until next time, everyone, take care and see you.